Hello, people. I was out today and I got home and I turned on my computer and decided to go see if anything was going on. I noticed nobody was really on today except Tom Vecchia. And Tom interviewed Johnny Alite today. Got to give him props on that. I interviewed Johnny Alite right before he left for Europe, and Tom got him coming back. But if you watch today's interview, John Alite was on fire. Whether you like him or not, he dominated the interview. He literally took the interview over, which, that happens. I mean, I interviewed Gunner takes an interview over. But today you could see that John Alite was like really pissed. He put out names, he put out dates, and he challenged anybody to prove his dates wrong. I know people are going to go out and do research now and try to prove his dates wrong. But the fact of the matter is, if you've seen the interview, it was one-sided. He pretty much took that interview over because he came in angry. And he was pissed at Tom. And, we see in this genre what's going on with Tom. I mean, he's done some very suspicious things over the last few days. And Tom, you may not like to hear that I'm saying this, but you did. That show that you had on the other night was quite eventful, but then when you come on the following day, you're making excuses about the show you had on the night before, but you already did that on another show. Same excuses. I don't know. I don't know what to think, Tom. It's just very odd the way you're doing things. But I will give you a lot of credit for getting John Alite on, because we're in a genre where a lot of people won't have him on just because his name's John Alite. And I think this is wrong. I mean, if you can get a person like John Alite on, whether you like him or not, you should get him on. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, are we going to decide who we can talk to because we don't like them or we don't trust them or believe them? And think about when he came on today, he blasted the shit out of Sammy Gravano. And the one thing I liked is when he brought up Alan Kaiser, because as you people know, I did a video on Alan Kaiser and Sammy Gravano. And he made some very valid points about Sammy Gravano. One, he was in the Colombo family. They wanted to get rid of him. And he did go to the Gambino family. And he's always saying he only shot one person. That's what John Alite said. And it's the truth. He shot one person. But let me rephrase that. It's not the truth. It's Sammy Gravano. God knows what he did that we don't know about. But in reality, on record, he says he shot one person, even though there's evidence that he shot Alan Kaiser also. As much as they want to say it was Louis Miletto, he himself told the FBI originally it was him. So I'm going to say he shot two people. With this interview today, too, I would say that 90% of the talking was by him. And he came into it. And one thing about John Alite, he has this habit, and if you guys remember when I interviewed him, he has this habit of having issues with his phone all the time. I don't know if it's just where he is or, just poor cell service or easier for him to do that. I have no idea what to think. I would say I'd give today John Alite an A. Tom, I would give about a C minus, because And this has nothing to do with believing John Alite. It's the way he controlled the interview. You know, when I interviewed him, I asked him a string of questions and I got the questions out. Tom did too. But anybody that thinks John Alite's dumb is dumb for thinking it because he's not dumb. He's a very intelligent man and he has the gift of talking. And when Tom was trying to corner him, he could never corner him. And he asked him, when Tom asked him about Jimmy Calandra, he refused to answer because at that point, he didn't want to answer. It was just him controlling that interview. But then he did go on about people that are actual gangsters. And that's what he was trying to say. And Sammy Gravano is an actual gangster. But I'll tell you what, he made some good points on Sammy Gravano. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched that yet, but some of his points about Sammy Gravano were right on. You know, and just think about some of the things he said. And if you haven't seen it, you know, once you do see it, if you do decide to watch it, you'll understand. You know, and it's going to be one of those interviews a lot of people talk about. And now that John Alite's back from Europe, you're going to see him doing a lot of interviews now. He's probably going to go at the people that came at him. He also said that he wants to get away from John Jr. and concentrate on Sammy. So I guess he's seething from the things that Sammy said about him. He's really upset. So it's going to be interesting to see if he goes at Sammy as hard as he used to go at Junior. I think he's gonna. But I find it odd that these guys are both friends with Karen Gravano. Tom is, and so is John Alite. And yet he's there putting Sammy on blast. And he says he's good friends with Karen. That makes no sense. So maybe he really isn't. I have no idea. Especially if he's saying what he's saying about Sammy Gravano today. He basically said that Sammy Gravano wasn't nearly the guy that he pretended to be. He basically said that John Gotti had every right to whack him, and he understands why John Gotti wanted to whack Sammy, and that Sammy was basically out of control, and John Gotti wanted to keep Sammy close to him. As we know, when we listen to those tapes, John Gotti's on those tapes, and you know he's blasting the shit out of Sammy, and of course that's what made Sammy flip. But some things were put in perspective when Alite was talking to Tom. Just excuse me, just some things I wasn't thinking about. And when he said about the Columbos and going from the Columbos to the Gambinos, that was a very, very good point. Because if Sammy Gravano was so valuable, why did the Columbos want to get rid of him so bad? And a lot of people said, well, I'm not sure exactly what it's by. And I'm sure mob historians would come out and say, Lee, so if you're going to tell me why he left the Colombo family, that's great. I always thought it was because he had a beef with somebody about money. But Sammy had a lot of problems with people about money. And then he talked about how Sammy set Louis Mileto up to be killed, despite the fact that Louis Mileto saved his life, which is very interesting because it's the truth. You know, they brought him to, they set him up. They brought him, they killed him. They brought him right in the house and shot him in the head. And that's it. And Sammy was part of that. And we hear Sammy talk about that all the time. But I think what you're going to see happen now, I don't think Gravano's going to attack Alite. I think Alite wants him to attack. So he's going to think hard about that. I don't think Sammy's going to want to be in that fray with John Alite. It's a no-win situation for Sammy. It would make no sense for him to go at Alite. I mean, he's got his own things going on. Plus, he's 78 years old. You know, at my age, I have a hard enough time handling this with the arguing and all that shit. So I can imagine Sammy saying that he does not want to be involved in that. Couldn't blame him. But I think that you're going to see John Alite say and do a lot of things. And also, I'm going to have some information in the beginning of this week that nobody's going to have. And it's mafia stuff, actually. And I'm going to be bringing that out. I'm anywhere between Monday and Wednesday. And it's pretty interesting news. I promised I wouldn't bring it out right now to the person. But I'm looking forward to bringing that out. And it's already worked out where I can bring it out. So when you guys look at this video, just leave in the message board what you think. Do you think that here's the questions. Did John Alite control that interview? I mean, how do you guys think he did in the interview? If you watched it. How did Tom Vecchia do an interview? Tom went from Tony Pizza to John Alite in back-to-back days, just about. He pretty much did that. So it's going to be interesting where that goes. I mean, right now there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with everything going on, especially with Tom and a couple of shows that he's done. And all the other stuff I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to get into it. I mean, it's just happening. And there's nothing that... It's a no-win situation for me if I remark on it right now. So I'm not going to do that. But I am going to remark on this meeting that this interview that they had today. Because it was actually a very entertaining interview. And I believe it was entertaining because John Alite took it over. A lot of things he said was the same as he usually says. But the one difference is today he said something that he never really talks about. He really went after Sammy Gravano. I mean, he went after Sammy Gravano with Alan Kaiser. He went after Sammy Gravano when he was with the Columbos and going into the Gambino family. He said that he was kept next to John Gotti because John Gotti didn't trust him, so he kept him close to him. I mean, he said a lot of stuff. You know, whether you like John Alite or hate John Alite, there's one thing you have to admit. He stays in the spotlight. And he doesn't stay in the spotlight with some little rinky-dink shows. I mean, I was watching Locked Up Abroad, and he was saying shit that he never said before. And it was like he was looking in the camera smirking because he knew it was pissing the Gottis off. And what he was saying was like, that show totally brought it up 150% from what it was. But a lot of people watch that show. And every time people think that John Alite's down, he'll pop up on another show. And we're not talking like a podcast. Sure, he does podcasts, but he comes up on these major shows that get millions of views. whether you like him or hate him, here's where I think people make the biggest mistakes about John Alite is that they want to make him sound like a total fraud. He's not a total fraud. Has he embellished stuff? Without a doubt. Did he do stuff with John Gotti Jr.? Without a doubt. Did he kill people? Most likely. Did he beat people up? Most likely. I mean, the man's my age, and look at him. He's in great shape. So it's obvious he takes care of himself really well. But this is just one of those human beings in life that people underestimate. And that's what's going on now. You know, people, and the people underestimating him are calling him names aren't nearly as smart as him. That's the problem. You know, and he has all his lines made up. Like he'll call podcasters tough guys behind keyboards. That was his big thing during the interview today. Tough guys behind keyboards. And a lot of that's true. I'm going to be releasing another video I got made up, but besides, this is just going to be a short video just talking about that today. But I got a couple things coming up. I'm going to do a live tomorrow. And I'm going to release a few things. One is going to be a call I got 2:00 in the morning a couple days ago with threats in it, texts, death threats. So the shit that this guy was saying to me was unbelievable. And I'm going to speak about what he was trying to do. He was trying to create conflict between me and another podcaster. Because, you know, a few days ago when I said that I wasn't going to come back the way I've been doing this, he actually said to me, this guy who called me, he goes, you want to come back. You want to go after this other podcaster. And he goes, I'm friends with this podcaster. He'll rip you apart. But I don't think he was friends with that podcaster. A lot of strange shit going on in this genre, I swear to God. Okay, people, let me know what you thought about the interview today. You may have not watched it. I think it's worth watching, but it's not Tom LaVecchia interviewing John Alite. It's John Alite interviewing Tom LaVecchia. I mean, they switched seats. Let's put it that way. He came on the guest, and he became the host. And he definitely hosted that show. So he was well prepared for it. He was ready. I don't think Tom was prepared for John Alite at all. And probably with the phone issue being once again with his phone. Because if you remember when I interviewed him, throughout that interview, he had so much trouble with his damn phone. And I find it hard to believe he doesn't have a good phone. Maybe he just picks up his flip phone and decides to use that for interviews. Okay, people, I'm just tired tonight. I'm just going to drop this little short video. Please subscribe to my channel. We're getting close now to getting past that 1,400 mark. The 2,400 mark. Yeah, 2,500. So that means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. We're right now, I'm about 18,000 short of 500,000 views. And it's like I said the other day, I never thought I'd get to 500,000 views. I can't believe that people would watch me 500,000 times. If someone told me this last year at this time, I'd laugh at them. Well, anyway, thank you everybody for, especially people that do support me. And they support me through a lot of shit. And it's very, very much appreciated. Everybody take care. Thank you.